A Georgia Senate bill would recognize gold and silver as legal tender and create a state-approved bullion depository. You would be allowed to make payments through a system much like a debit card. Joining me is the sponsor of the bill, Republican Senator Marty Harbin of Tyrone. He is chair of the Insurance and Labor Committee and vice chair of Retirement. And his other committees include Finance and Ethics. Also here is one of the bill's many co-sponsors, Democratic Senator Sonya Halpern. She is Senate Minority Caucus Vice Chair. She is Vice Chairman of the Urban Affairs Committee in the Senate, and her other committees include Finance, Appropriations, Education, and Youth. Welcome to Lawmakers for this year. Good to have you both here. Now, let's talk about this. What problem does the bill solve, and why should the average person care about gold right now?
Well, gold is a commodity that has been around for 6,000 years.
Yeah.
If you look at it, where we look at the power of what we're doing is through the U.S. Constitution. Our founding fathers had a lot of wisdom back in those days. And Article 1, Section 10 says that states cannot create currency, but they can have gold and silver depositories that are regulated by the state. Therefore, if you want to put gold in, and back in the 1800s that was done, you would have money that was placed there under state supervision, and you and I could write a check to you for a gold check. You could go to the bank and get your gold. And gold has been recognized for years. It's also been a hedge against inflation, and it's a commodity, if you will. And here, another part is that for banks, it's a tier 1 asset for banks. Banks buy gold for a reason, and that is it is a stabilizing force, if you will, in their portfolio. Now, it goes up and down just like any other commodity, but the average person does not have the ability to transact business that way.
Okay.
Here's a coin.
That's your gold coin, huh?
That's a gold coin.
Okay.
That coin's worth right at $5,000 today. The average person can't come up with $5,000 in that respect. And so what we're looking at is you can buy this via a fintech technology. You can buy $100 or $50, hold it in your gold account, and then through a fintech transaction, which would be like a debit card, which is here. This technology is available today. I can swipe my card, buy my Chick-fil-A or my Coca-Cola, and then it fractionally takes my money from my gold coin. And when you look at that, gives any investor the ability to invest in something that he couldn't get to before, and really it's just another way to pay. Someone asked me, he says, well, how about Bitcoin? I said, but Bitcoin is not constitutional. And that was the issue that I look at is it constitutional? We have 5 states that have already passed legislation. Texas has its own depository. They were the first to have a depository where gold could be stored. Florida, Arkansas, and Louisiana, those states have already passed legislation to do that. So they see that. And like I said, it's another way to pay, but it's a way for you to have something that's a hard currency, just like this. Someone once said, buy land, because they're not making any more of it. And gold has held its value, again, up and down, but inflationary, as we've seen inflation occur. And a lot of that is because they can tax you, tax me, print money they don't have that makes your money and my money worth less. But gold has been a great hedge for inflation. And what this does for the citizens of Georgia is it gives every person the opportunity to invest in something they could not otherwise invest. The bill number is SB 424. I'll say this, it's 4 for Georgia and it's 24 karat.
I see. I had a feeling there was something to that. I love that. I love when the bill numbers have something cool. You have signed on to this.
I have.
Tell us why.
Well, I, just like so many of my colleagues, continue to hear from families about affordability. And inflation is pressure against their money. There are so many Georgians that are doing the right thing, saving money. Think about a family that is saving $50 a month. Well, that money, with the cost of groceries going up and gas going up and rent going up, that savings actually is not growing at the same pace. But the ability to fractionally buy gold, which has held its value steady over the years, is really an interesting way for people to be able to protect their money that they've worked so hard to earn and save, and still have the ability to spend it if they need to.
Yeah. And it doesn't fall apart like money does, like tear or anything. And don't get me started on pennies not being around anymore. So let's talk a little bit about what the depository would be about and how that would work.
What we have looked at is we don't believe that Georgia needs to spend the money to build a depository per se. And what we would do is there would, under the bill, we would have a committee led by the treasurer of the state of Georgia, an appointment by the governor, two members by the House and 2 members by the Senate. And they would be the regulatory authority that would overlook the depositories. The depository could be Brinks. Brinks is one of the ones we've talked to. They could do that instantly, so we don't have to spend any capital for the depository. And then the state would be responsible to do the audits to make sure that they're handling that money. But your money would be your money. Unlike a bank today, your money is on deposit and you are a creditor. This is your money that if you wanted to do it, you could go to the depository, take that money out because it's yours. And you would pay a fee for storage, and therefore it's not going to cost anybody anything except the initial startup costs we see from that standpoint.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask you. Is there a fiscal note on this?
Yes, we've ordered one for it. What we think will happen, you'll need maybe one person to help get it started up that would work for the Treasury. Or for the treasurer, and basically they would do the RFP for the storage and the RFPs for the fintech technology to do the transactional gold from that standpoint. And it's up and running right now. One of the companies that's up and running and does a really good job thus far has been Glint, and they are in England, and that's where my money currently, I have gold there, and I can go in and swipe my card and buy Chick-fil-A with gold. What a novel idea.
So it wouldn't be a different card or anything, no special card.
It would be
similar to what we're used to using.
This is an actual card right here.
Right.
And
wow.
I could take that and buy what I want to buy. And then fractionally, they take it off of my gold account and they charge that. I believe that that's something that can be negotiated where the fees should actually be less for this possibly, because it's backed by gold. It's not a credit card. It's backed automatically. So I think that's we would do this. We'll do an RFP from the state to say what are the prices, and we could have multiple storage facilities. But what we want is you want to be constitutional. We need that to be regulated by our treasurer and the board there, and then have vendors that we could do our transactions with from that standpoint.
Okay.
It's just another way to pay.
I see that. So some places have said this is kind of symbolic. What do you say?
I say it's not symbolic at all. I mean, at the end of the day, people are feeling the pressure. Their money is not going as far. And really, think of this as like the piggy bank for the modern economy. And gold holds its value. So over time, gold has steadily held its value. If I were to have saved $400 in the 20s and could buy a suit, a belt, a shirt, boots, and a hat, well, that same $400 today can't do that. But if I had that same $400 in whatever the ounces of gold would have been at that time, I could still, in fact, buy all those things today because the gold holds its value. And even though it can fluctuate, it holds its value over time against inflation.
Yeah, so let's talk about the fluctuation. The other day it made the news because it dropped dramatically.
Yes. I said this, if you bought it last week, you're sad. If you bought it last year, you're happy because it has maintained its value. I mean, if you go back a year ago, it was in the $2,800 an ounce. It closed today in the 4,900s. So, I mean, it's still been there. And if you look at it, it's still a stable value that you hold that has a value that's not like a company can go bankrupt, a stock can go bankrupt. It's something that's there. And it's, like I said, 6,000 years of history is backing up that people desire gold and it's a value.
So do you expect like a gold rush? Like people are just like going to go
Well,
Yeah, like, you know,
how about
jewelry.
this?
Oh.
There's gold on the gold dome.
Okay.
There's 80 plus ounces there.
That's it.
So I say if the dome should be covered with gold, the people of Georgia should have their own gold.
Okay, that's the slogan going there. You agree with that? That's the slogan going forward for all of this,
Yes.
maybe. So, yeah, you
We
guys, you've got a lot of interest, I hear.
We want to make Georgia gold. We believe that it's a good thing, and that's what's happening. It gives, and it's like this. This is not for rich or poor. It opens the door to people that couldn't get in otherwise, and I think it's just good economic sense to be able to have diversification.